Welcome back. In the previous video, we created and formatted your data table. In this video, we're going to show you how to take your data table and we're going to use some of the data to write a formula that will perform a basic calculation. This is one of the advantages of using Google Sheets. In this particular example, we have just a couple of different types of analysis we can do with the data. For example, if we wanted to find the total biomass of all three sun intensities, we could do that simply by adding up these three numbers. Okay, now we don't have a lot of numbers here to add, but if you had 100 examples, or if you performed this experiment 100 times and had to perform that calculation 100 times, you could see that would take a little bit of time, even if you were using a calculator. But Google Sheets allows you to write a formula to calculate that total. We could also find the difference between the shaded and the partly sunny, or the shaded group and the sunny group, or the partly sunny and the sunny group. Right? And so those are all some calculations that we can do. So in order to do this, there's a few things to set up at the beginning. Now you could see in the last video we talked about the fact that there was one tab called, and we renamed that sheet table. What we want to do is we want to make another sheet. Now, instead of just adding another sheet by clicking the plus button, we're going to want to use this information from the original table to create a data analysis table. So instead of just adding a new sheet and copying and pasting this table, the shorter way to do that, or the quicker way to do that, would be to click the little arrow next to the word table, and we can duplicate this sheet. All right, so now you have your table and the copy of table. Now we're going to want to rename that. So if you remember from the first video, you can click this arrow to rename. A quicker way to do it also would be to double click. Right, so it's a double click, not a two-finger tap, but an actual double click. And you can then highlight, this would highlight the name, and then you can change it. And so we're going to call this data analysis, ALYSIS table. All right, so we have this original data table, and we're going to include this as part of our data analysis. You could have done this on the first sheet, but I like to create a second sheet for analysis tables so that I don't change the original information. There are some more advanced functions that you could do where you could, integrate your analysis table with your data analysis table so that if changes were made to the numbers here, those changes would also get made on this sheet. Okay, but we're not going to get to that level in these tutorials, as to not confuse you. All right, so here what we're going to do is we're going to set up another part of the table. And so here we're going to take, let's find the total biomass. Okay, and again, we're going to parentheses in grams, close parenthesis for our units, right? And if you remember from the previous video, you can click in front of that unit and hold the control button down and push the enter key, and that will put the units underneath the title. Okay, now you can also see we want to stretch this table out a little bit on that particular column. So remember, you hover between the two row titles, D and E, and I just stretched that out a little bit. All right. Something that would have sped that up, so I'm just going to undo all that for a minute because I want to save you time. That's one of the reasons that we use the technology, is you could have copied this cell here by clicking on it and then Control C and then click in cell D3, and you can Control V for paste, and that would then paste that. So now you've copied all the formatting, and I'm just going to edit the title there and put total biomass. Okay. Now do you see how this text kind of gets a little bit too large? Again, you can stretch this out, but I wanted to just show you one other thing that you can do. You can click in here And there's another function called text wrapping. And if I click the little arrow next to that, I can click this here to wrap the text, and you'll see it kind of wraps the text. Now I lose my units because that makes this a little bit, too thin to display my units, but I could come in here and I can stretch this out. Okay, and so now you can keep this, a little bit more narrow, but keep this a little bit wider, and you'll be able to see all of your text in there. Okay, so those are just a couple of little functions that will help you make your table easier to read. Okay, and also you have to remember you want to be able to display all of that text in there. That's important. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit thicker by dragging down in here. Okay, so now we want to have the total biomass is something we want to find. I also want to find the difference between shaded and partly sunny. So I'm going to just put shaded versus partly sunny. Okay, and I want to wrap that text also. So again, I can click on that cell, and I can go up to the text wrapping, and I can wrap that. And I want to also do shaded versus sunny. So I can click in here, and I can copy and paste that. And another way to copy and paste something is you can grab this little dot in the bottom right-hand corner. So the cell is highlighted, E3. And I'm going to grab that little dot, and you'll see my cursor changes to kind of like a bullseye. So I'm going to click and then drag that across, and that also copies and pastes the text. So that's just another feature. All right, since this one is shaded versus sunny, I'm going to just click in here and take out the partly. And now I have shaded versus sunny. And then I'm also going to want partly sunny. Versus sunny. Okay, and again, I want to wrap the text. Now, you could do that one at a time, like I did here, or you could have waited and completed that all at the end. Okay, sometimes when you're first learning how to use this program, it's great to be repetitive. I want to also change these colors. Right. Instead of picking purple, I'm going to pick a little bit slightly different color just because here I'm finding the difference. So I'm going to pick this color here. Okay, now here's total biomass, and then here, this is going to be difference. So just above that, I'm going to write difference. Right. And if you remember, the difference is for all three of these. So I want to take this cell, E2, and I'm going to drag across cells E, F, and G, and I want to go back to that merge function, which is up here, and I'm going to merge horizontally. I'm going to boldface that because I want it to stand out a little bit, and then I want to also center that. All right, and as a matter of fact, I want to center all of this. And I want to also center it up and down vertically. So again, there's that vertical align. You can click that. And then I want to boldface all of those as well. Okay, now the last thing I want to do is start to write my formulas. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to actually put my borders in here as well. So I'm going to highlight cells D3 through G3. And 4 as well. Okay, so I have this section highlighted, and if you remember from the first video, we come over here to borders. We select all of our borders, and now we have this analysis table. And I think I want to put a border around this difference also, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to select either this one or this one would be fine. And that. Okay, so now we have the total biomass, we have the difference between these different groups, and now we have to find the difference. Now, rather than pulling out a calculator or using your brain and a pencil, we're going to show you how to write a formula. All right, so this is almost like computer programming a little bit. So in order to find the total biomass, I could probably ask you how to find the total, and I think you'll be able to tell me the answer. you would add up these three numbers together. Okay, so to write a formula, you click in the cell that you want to put the answer in. And you can do this a couple of ways, but there is a formula tool over here called functions. And when you click that little arrow next to it, it will give you a variety of different mathematical functions that you can use. And there's a whole bunch of them, but some of the most common ones you're going to find up here at the top. Now, to find the difference, there isn't actually a function for difference, but the sum is the function that you're going to want to use. Okay, and actually we are finding the sum because we're finding the total. Okay, I was jumping ahead. So we're going to use that formula. Now you can see how the formula is written. Okay, it's written as equals sum. So the equal sign tells the computer that it's going to write a function. Sum is going to tell the computer that it's going to find the total. Okay, and I want to add up these three cells together, B4 plus B5 plus B6. And I can type that in, or I can click and drag across the cells that I want to add up. So in this case, I click in, while my cursor's in the parentheses, right? I'm in the middle of developing the function, and you can see the function is up here as well. You can see the text that's going in. I'm going to click in cell B4 and drag down to B5 and to B6. Okay, and this writes a function. Now you don't see a plus symbol in here, but what the computer is doing is it's adding up cell B4 through B6, and that's what this colon indicates. Okay, it's B4 through B6, so that's going to include B4, B5, and B6. Okay, and if I click outside the parentheses and then I hit enter, the total biomass should be calculated as 12.8 grams. All right, so now we can zoom back out. Okay, and when I zoom out, we'll show you how to write the next formula. Okay, the next formula that you're going to want to do is to find the difference. And that formula works very much the same. Okay, we're going to use that same formula. So it's equals sum, open parenthesis. All right, and now I'm looking for the difference between the shaded versus the partly sunny. So I can click on cell B4, or I can type B4, either way. And in this case, because I'm finding the difference, it's actually a subtraction problem. So now I'm going to use the mathematical symbol for subtraction, which is the minus symbol. And it's shaded versus partly sunny. And I can click on B5, or I can type B5. I can close the parenthesis. And now I would have that formula finds the difference. Now, you could repeat that same formula, equals sum, open parenthesis, and you can do the same for the shaded versus the sunny. Minus B4 minus B6, close the parenthesis, and you'll have your answer. Now I'm going to undo that because I want to show you another way that you can do this. You could click in this cell where you did the same formula, and you can copy that formula by clicking that little dot again. Right? Again, you can see the cursor changes to a bullseye, and you can click and drag it across the other two cells in Google Sheets. Well, that didn't work. Let me undo that. For some reason, that didn't work. Okay, so in this case, I can't copy that formula over. So I'm just going to re-enter it. Sum. Again, I'm going to pick shaded versus sunny, so it's cell B4 minus B6. And then I can click enter. And finally, partly sunny versus sunny. So again, equals sum, open parenthesis. Now we have partly sunny, which is cell B5 minus B6. Okay, and I get the difference. Now, because all of these were positive numbers, I didn't have to do any other formatting. However, if you're trying to find the difference and it was between sunny and partly sunny, and you worked, in that direction instead, you would have a negative number, and you would be able to change the formatting on that so the number only shows up as positive, since it's the difference between those two cells is, showing, if you wanted to show it as a positive difference. Okay, in any event, there you have your formulas. You can also format these, right, by centering them and then centering them up and down again. And you'll also notice I didn't put grams in here, so I can do that up in here, maybe next to difference in grams I can put the units. And if I wanted to put that underneath the title, you remember you can click in front of the parenthesis, hold the control button, and push the enter. And now you have your data analysis table. All right, we'll check back in the next part of the video, and you'll learn how to make a graph of your data. Thanks for watching.